That's why you called training explosive strength and speed redundant, right?
Exactly, exactly. And so but it's like, if a person, like, what's the engine of the human body? The engine of the human body is that of muscle contraction. And so we have a body, which is, like everyone, I assume everyone knows, is our body is composed by a skeleton, by bones, and on top of these bones we have muscles. And for example, here the arm. Are you able to, like, record my arm?
Only if you lift your arm up a little bit. Otherwise,
Yeah.
I can redirect it.
No,
a little
that's
bit,
okay. That's okay. So, but like,
Yeah.
in any body segment, in this, let's imagine the arm. You have the bone, and then you have muscles on the front part. You've got the biceps,
Yeah.
but the muscle, the biceps, don't cover the whole body segment. They don't cover the whole bone. At each end, the muscle transitions into a different tissue called the tendons. And so the central part is the muscle tissue, and then at both ends you've got tendon tissue that connects the muscle to different bones. And what happens is that as the central portion, the muscle tissue, shortens, then it will pull on the extremities, it will pull on the tendons. The tendons will stretch a little bit, but because their ability to stretch is very limited, very quickly they will transfer that pulling force onto the attaching bones. And so what happens is that through muscle shortening, you are able to pull on the tendons pull on the bones, and if this happens with an intensity that is high enough to place in motion the mass that you wish to place in motion. In this case, if you are shortening the biceps, usually you are doing so in order to flex your elbow, in order to bring your forearm and your hand closer to your face. And so if the shortening of the muscle tissue that is pulling on the tendons, and the tendons then are pulling on the bones, is strong enough, has enough intensity in order to place that mass in motion, then we witness the displacement of a body segment. And the muscle shortening is the engine behind human movement. And so what happens is that muscle shortening can occur at different rates, and so a muscle can shorten at a very slow pace or at a faster pace. And if the muscle shortens at a faster pace, we're calling it explosive strength. And so anytime we shorten our muscle tissue, and then the muscle tissue is pulling on the tendon, then we always designate this as an event which is generating force. And so if the muscle shortens in a way very, very fast, then we call that type of force generation explosive strength. And then obviously, as I stated earlier, using the analogy of the race car, if we record the body segment, the forearm and the hand being displaced in space, if we record the displacement and the time, we are able to characterize the output in terms of its movement speed, in terms of the velocity. But this gets us to the same conclusion, which is that speed ends up being an output characteristic that allows us to characterize the output, characterize movement.
Yeah.
But then as a coach, as an athlete, when we go to our drawing board in order to figure out what to train, how to train, and in order to impact which variables, in this case, the engine that produces movement, the engine is the ability of the muscle to shorten either very fast or a little bit slower, but reaching maximum intensity in order for that muscle shortening to be conveyed onto the tendons and then onto the muscles. Right. And so muscle shortening is strength, and strength can generate, we can use strength, muscle shortening, muscle strength, in order to generate the maximum strength that that muscle is able to generate, or the maximum strength within a limited time window.
Like, for example, the speed.
Yeah, because let's assume that that a certain muscle, the biceps, let's assume that it takes like a full second in order to generate the maximum shortening, the maximum strength, the maximum force that it is able to generate. It requires a full second in order to generate maximum strength. But now let's assume that a person is able to perform, needs to perform like a very quick action. Now, so let's see, instead of let's transfer from the biceps to the triceps. Let's assume that, for example, you're simply like, for example, at a pub, like throwing darts, and so you are extending the elbow, and so in order to extend the elbow, you need to shorten the muscle which is opposite to the biceps, so the triceps, and let's assume that the ability for the triceps to shorten and to produce the maximum strength, the maximum force that it is able to generate, let's assume that it takes a full second. But you don't take a full second in order to perform the extension of the elbow when throwing a dart. Let's assume that throwing the dart only takes like a quarter of a second. So like the triceps, needs like a full second in order to generate the maximum force that it is able to generate. But the action of throwing a dart only allows you, for example, a quarter of the second in order to generate strength. Yeah. And so the maximum amount of strength that a person is able to generate when faced with a limited time window in order to do so, then we call this explosive strength. Okay? And so what does this mean? This means that within this paradigm of looking at training or approaching training under the intention of improving your ability to produce muscle contractions, then you just focus on the engine and you only have one variable. But within the former model, the four-component traditional model, you were led to think that you needed to perform certain exercises in order to improve strength, and other exercises in order to improve speed. And that's not the case. And so within the same exercise, in this case, using an exercise to improve explosive strength, then you are improving your ability to, or you are improving your muscles' ability to shorten much faster. And so you are improving your explosive strength, which will lead to an improvement in terms of outcome, in terms of muscle, in terms of movement speed.